You've probably felt it before. That quiet frustration when you see the wrong people rise. The manipulative coworker who gets promoted. The dishonest politician who wins again. The loud fool who becomes a leader while the wise are ignored. And somewhere deep inside, a voice whispers, maybe the world doesn't reward honesty after all. What if that voice is right? What if leadership itself, the very structure of power, is designed to reward narcissists, liars, and fools? Not by accident, but by nature. Niccolo Machiavelli, the author of The Prince, wrote something most people still can't bear to hear. It is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both. He wasn't celebrating cruelty, he was describing reality. A reality that 5 centuries later we still live in. Machiavelli saw the world as it truly was, a stage where perception often matters more than truth, where those who understand appearances, who can manipulate fear, loyalty, and illusion, rise faster than those who simply do good. You might find this uncomfortable, even unfair, but look around. In politics, in corporations, in history, power has always had a strange magnetic pull toward the bold, the shameless, and the self-assured. It's not because they're better leaders, it's because they understand a brutal truth. Power doesn't flow to those who deserve it, it flows to those who claim it. Psychologists describe narcissism as a spectrum, and somewhere near the center of that spectrum lies confidence. It's the same confidence that makes someone speak louder, move first, and believe they can lead. But here's the paradox. That same confidence, when unchecked, becomes self-obsession. And self-obsession, when combined with charm, becomes charisma. Charisma is the currency of modern power. It blinds people. It convinces them that someone who sounds right must be right. The philosopher Nietzsche warned of this when he said, "Madness is rare in individuals, but in groups, parties, nations, and ages, it is the rule." We don't just allow narcissists to rise, we create them. We worship certainty, even when it's empty. We reject doubt, even when it's wise. We equate confidence with competence, and in doing so, we hand power to the ones who crave it most, the ones least worthy of it. Meanwhile, those with empathy and depth, the quiet thinkers, the ones who doubt themselves, hesitate. They overthink. They wait for the right time, the right plan, the right truth. But by the time they're ready, the stage has already been taken by louder voices. Plato wrote about this over 2,000 years ago in the Republic. He warned that the best people, the philosophers, often avoid politics because they see it as corrupt and unworthy. And because the wise refuse to rule, the foolish rush in to fill the void. This is how mediocrity rises to power, not because the fools are strong, but because the wise are silent. Evil doesn't always conquer by force. Sometimes it wins by default. Think of history's most dangerous figures: Caesar, Napoleon, Hitler, Stalin. Each of them mastered one skill above all: the art of the mask. They learned that truth doesn't move crowds, emotion does. That people don't want honesty, they want certainty. That the leader who hesitates to lie will be crushed by the one who lies beautifully. Machiavelli called it the appearance of virtue. Not virtue itself, just the appearance. And so we end up ruled by actors who mistake the performance of morality for morality itself. They preach about justice while hoarding power. They promise peace while building empires. They cry for truth while silencing dissent. But here's the cruel twist. We're part of the script. We reward their act every time we choose comfort over truth, personality over integrity, and noise over wisdom. Dietrich Bonhoeffer, the German theologian who opposed Hitler, once said something haunting. The ultimate test of a moral society is the kind of world that it leaves to its children. He saw how ordinary good people, afraid, confused, desperate for order, surrendered their moral judgment to those who shouted the loudest. It wasn't just the tyrants who destroyed nations, it was the obedience of the silent majority. Power doesn't corrupt in a vacuum. It feeds on our apathy. It thrives when we say, "Someone else will speak up." And that's how fools become kings, not because they are powerful, but because we hand them the crown. But maybe the hardest truth of all is this: the leaders we get are mirrors of ourselves. If society values image over integrity, then image makers will rule. If society rewards arrogance, then humility will vanish. If society craves entertainment over truth, then liars will become celebrities and philosophers will become forgotten. Machiavelli didn't invent this world. He just described it. And unless we confront it, we'll keep repeating the same cycle. Every generation will complain about its corrupt leaders without realizing they were chosen by collective desire, not collective wisdom. But here's where the story doesn't have to end. There's another kind of power. Quieter, slower, less visible, but far more enduring. It's the power of integrity. The kind that doesn't shout, doesn't deceive, doesn't seek applause. It's the kind that builds legacies instead of empires. History rarely remembers the liars for long. Their kingdoms collapse under their own vanity. But truth endures. Look at Socrates, executed by the state for corrupting the youth. 2,000 years later, we remember his name, but not the names of the men who condemned him. True leadership isn't about ruling others. It's about mastering oneself, about ruling the ego before the ego rules you. You might be wondering, if the world rewards the wrong people, then why bother being good? Because goodness isn't a strategy, it's a stand. It's rebellion in a world that prizes manipulation. And every act of integrity, however small, weakens the machinery of deceit. Machiavelli showed us the darkness of politics. Nietzsche showed us the power of self-overcoming. Bonhoeffer showed us the cost of silence. And Plato showed us the duty of the wise to lead even when the world is deaf to wisdom. Maybe that's the answer. Not to reject power, but to redeem it. To step forward, not because you crave control, but because you refuse to let liars and fools decide the fate of the honest. In the end, the world doesn't need more leaders. It needs more conscious ones, those who understand the darkness without becoming it. So the next time you see a narcissist rewarded, remember, power is a mirror. If you don't like who's reflected in it, change the gaze of those who hold it. And if you ever wonder whether truth still matters in a world built on lies, remember this: the liars may rise faster, but only truth stands the test of time. Every lie in leadership begins as a test, a small distortion of truth to see how far the crowd will go. A leader lies once, and the world looks away. They lie again, and the world rationalizes it. Soon, the lie becomes the new normal. Machiavelli warned princes to control appearances because men in general judge more by the eye than by the hand. People don't examine deeply, they react, and that reaction is the soil in which false leaders grow. But every lie has a cost, not just to the liar, but to those who believe it. It erodes trust, the invisible glue that holds society together. When trust dies, people stop believing in anything: truth, goodness, even themselves. And when that happens, the ground is perfectly prepared for tyranny. This is how fools and narcissists inherit power, not through strength, but through the weakness of a people too tired to care. There's another reason the wrong people rise. They offer simple answers to complex problems. Human beings crave simplicity. It makes us feel safe. But the world is never simple. It's layered, chaotic, morally gray. A narcissist thrives here because he promises clarity. He points to an enemy. He claims, "I alone can fix it." And people, desperate for certainty, hand him their loyalty. Philosopher Hannah Arendt called this the banality of evil, not monsters doing monstrous things, but ordinary people surrendering to easy narratives. The fool becomes a hero because he makes the crowd feel right, even when he's wrong. There was a time when virtues like patience, humility, and honesty were seen as strengths. Today, they're mistaken for weakness. We've replaced virtue with visibility. If it's not seen, it's not valued. And so, leadership becomes a theater, a competition for attention, not truth. The philosopher Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be one." But in our world of performance, even goodness can become a brand. And that's the final trick of the narcissist. He turns morality into marketing. Every generation faces a moral crossroad. Some choose comfort, others choose truth. But truth is heavy. It costs reputation, safety, belonging. Bonhoeffer faced that weight when he defied the Nazi regime. He could have stayed silent, preserved his life, and lived comfortably. Instead, he said, "Silence in the face of evil is itself evil." He was executed for it, but his words outlived his captors. That's the strange thing about integrity. It never wins quickly, but it always wins eventually. Because power without conscience collapses under its own corruption. History moves like a pendulum, from chaos to order, from wisdom to arrogance, from truth to illusion, and back again. Every time the fools rise too high, the world breaks. And in the ruins, new thinkers are born. After Rome's emperors drowned the empire in decadence, the Stoics rose to remind the world of virtue. After Europe's tyrants darkened the skies, the Enlightenment returned with reason and liberty. After corruption, renewal. After lies, awakening. We are living in one of those turning points now, a time when spectacle replaces substance and truth whispers beneath the noise. But if you listen carefully, truly listen, you'll hear it calling for those willing to lead differently. True leadership often looks like loneliness, because to stand for truth is to stand against the crowd. Socrates drank the poison not because he lost, but because he refused to betray his own conscience. Jesus was crucified not for weakness, but for defying power with truth. Galileo was imprisoned not for lies, but for refusing to renounce reality. Every age punishes its prophets and praises its deceivers. But every age also depends on the few who choose courage over comfort, who lead not to rule, but to awaken. Imagine a world where leadership is not about dominance, but service, where power is measured not by how many obey you, but by how many are freed by your example. That world begins with you, with every small choice to think, to speak, to act with integrity when it's easier not to. That is the quiet revolution Machiavelli never imagined, but perhaps hoped someone might create. Nietzsche said, "He who fights monsters should see to it that he himself does not become a monster." The next generation of leaders must understand this, that true strength is restraint, and true intelligence is humility. So ask yourself this: do you seek power to be seen or to serve? Do you crave influence because you fear insignificance or because you wish to create meaning? These questions define the future more than any election, army, or ideology. Because leadership, real leadership, isn't about controlling others. It's about guiding yourself so deeply that others are inspired to do the same. And maybe that's why history keeps rewarding the wrong people, because we keep looking for leaders out there instead of cultivating one within. The philosopher Lao Tzu once wrote, "When the best leader's work is done, the people will say, 'We did it ourselves.'" That's the highest form of power. Invisible, humble, transformative. So the next time you watch a liar succeed, don't lose faith in truth. Truth is slow, but it is relentless. The noise of fools fills the moment, but the silence of wisdom fills eternity. The age of narcissists will end, not with revolutions or wars, but when enough people choose awareness over applause and depth over performance. And when that happens, leadership will finally stop rewarding the wrong people, because we'll have stopped admiring them.